All right. So in the description, there's linked to something called the 40mm base. You're going to want to download that. Then you're going to go to File, Import STL. You'll see the 40mm round STL. You're going to hit Import. And the 40mm round is actually not very big, but you were sculpting super tiny. So we're going to hide it by clicking the little eyeball. Then in object mode, we're going to select our person, which currently is called cube, but you can rename that person if you want to help keep control of your stuff. Next to the items, under transform, we're going to mess around with the scales to make things bigger. So we're going to start by making everything 5 times larger. It starts by going big chungus. And then once we get through all of them, boom, we're 5 times larger. We'll turn back on the 40mm base. Seems appropriate based on what size mine is. Yours might be a little bit different, just kind of depends on how you sculpted. Get it to the point where it's contained on the base, but it stands pretty decent. You're going to press numpad 1 to go into front view. Double check that the feet are slightly embedded into the base. You don't want him floating or her floating above the base. You want the feet just slightly in the base. This is going to allow for the STL file to have contact with all the parts so that it'll print properly and not fall apart. Now I grabbed it with a G and then I pressed Y, moved it back a little bit because I'm going to put my 3 initials in the front. You're going to put your 3 initials in the front of yours. I did Shift A, added a cube, grabbed the cube, move it up. Make sure again it's still embedded slightly into the base. You can see it's just slight overlap. Then again, I'm going to go into the scales. Z by 4, X by 3, and Y by 1. This gives me a good block to use for my lettering. Now in object mode, in edit mode, I'm going to subdivide. And I'll do this a couple times. This will give me enough faces to give myself a pixelated look to my lettering. This is probably pretty good. So now I go to object mode. And I'm going to duplicate the object. Now once I duplicate the object, it gives me another one. So it says cube 002. I'll move it over and I'll duplicate it again and I'll put it on the other side. Now you can check in the location. Currently we want to make sure that everything on the Z axis is the same because Z is up and down. We want them to stand the same height. So you can see that this third one does not stand the same height as the first 2. So while in object mode, if you select the one you want to move, you can then fix the numbers to be the same as the rest. And it just slightly nudges it south, and then we're good to go. Now selecting the first cube, I'm going to go into edit mode, and now I'm going to start selecting faces because I want to carve out the negative space so that I can have the letter S, because my first name is Sage. You're going to carve your negative space to be whatever your first letter is. Now you'll see I'm using the lasso tool. This allows me to select all the way through both the front and back layers. And before I delete, make sure that I like my selection, so you can see I have a basic S forming already. And then I'll press X and then delete. And I'll delete by faces. And I can see that there's still one little face left that I didn't quite get grabbed. Grab it again, and then I will, well, not do that. I will delete the face. So press X, then select face. So what I did is I just got rid of those faces, which means now there's some holes in it. So if you select edges, the top middle edit mode, using the little lasso tool, holding shift, only going along the face you want to create stuff, then you will press F, or you can right click and hit new face from faces, which is just F. You don't want to select all of it and then do it because it's going to do wonky stuff. You want to do each plane of existence individually. And you notice every time I hold shift, they're only going in a straight line. I don't hold shift when I'm going along a different line. And each of those times I just pressed F. And now when I go into plane mode, you can see that there's a plane that has sealed up that opening. I'll do the same thing for the E and the C if I'm doing this for a project that I'm going to print and keep, which you are. So please do all three of your initials. If you have a hyphenated or double last name, you can do your first name initial and then your two last name initials. And if you don't have a double last name, use your middle initial. So once I'm happy with all three of my letters, I'm going to go up to File, Export, and then I'll select STL. STL is the kind of file I need in order to use the Photon Workshop. Please make sure you name your thing like basic person followed by your name. So, naming our typical naming conventions. Make sure you know where you're saving it. I would say just save it to the computer for right now. But if you're going to also work at home, save it to USB. You can see that under volumes up in the left right now. You'll hit export STL. This STL is really small, so it's very easy and quick to export. Once you export it, you can close out of Blender. Open up Anycubic Photon Workshop. Go to Configure, Settings. Now we have to select the correct printer. The printer we have is Anycubic Photon Mono X 6K. It's a very large printer. See, the printing bed just got bigger. You don't need to mess with the resolutions or anything else like that. All of those get changed based on the type of machine that you select. So make sure you select the correct machine. You don't need to mess with the resins, but you can change the price to reflect how much resin you'll be using on this project. In the future, if you do a 3D project and you bring in the resin for it, I will print it for you. You can find resin somewhere between $30 and $50 for 1,000 milliliters, depending on what kind of resin it is. So if you want to do like a special color or a see-through or transparent, you can do that. You don't need to mess with the layer thickness or any of that kind of stuff. If you get interested in 3D printers, you can research that more, but the basic settings for this printer are really good. Then you go File, Open, find where you made your thing, hit Open, and now you'll see it has imported onto the middle of the bed of your printer. Now we need to add supports. Now, usually if you add supports, what you don't want to do is print things straight up and down. You could probably get away with printing this one straight up and down as long as you put some supports underneath the fingers, and then from underneath you put some supports in the middle of the base. The basic rotate and move commands are pretty much the same as any 3D program. You can either manually enter, or you can grab on the little globe the color of the axis you want to move and just click and drag. I'm rotating mine back 30 degrees. You might want to try 35. You'll see I'll have a little bit of a thing with the hands that I'm going to go back in and fix. What you don't want to do is have it going straight across. So you don't want to do like, you don't want them looking like they're laying down. Just diagonal. All right, then up top I hit the shape edit section. So now I'm going to add some supports. I change it to light supports because this is really thin and small, but I'm going to add a lot. So the support density I'm going to change to like a 50 so that it adds more supports. It's a little bit longer to clean up, but you have a better chance of not having a failed print. So I'm going to put 50. And then your support minimum length, I'm going to set that all the way down to like 0.2 because I don't want there to not be a support just because it's too close. It's very close to the bed, and then it fails the print when it first starts printing. Now, once I do that, now I'll go and click Add. I'm sorry, I will hit Fill. You can also try Platform instead of Fill. So if you don't like what this one looks like, then you do Platform. So what this did is those are the current supports that it generated. This program's okay at doing its supports, but you're going to need to go back in and add some more supports. You can see there's like some free hanging stuff on this person. They might have a strong enough base and not enough of a lean where they don't need a ton more supports, but better safe than sorry, because if this is like a 5-6 hour print and we can only print a certain number of times, better to make sure we get a success the first time. So I'm going to go back in and add individual supports. So you can see that the add is highlighted right now. With add highlighted, if I click an area, it will add a support in that spot. The reason why I keep looking underneath it is you can see that like reddish color. That means that's like an underneath. And usually you almost always want to add a support or two where you see those. But you're going to see I add a lot more than just that. I start with those ones. So every time I click, it adds a support and it automatically generates cross beams. This would probably print fine. But again, I'm going to go for a better safe than sorry. You can see that it added some supports into the S. But since the other letters aren't complete, it doesn't really think I need supports there. All right, you'll see that I made a support that I don't like. See how it rests on the edge of the S? It's going to be hard to trim and make look nice. So if you hit delete, then you select it, and then you do, delete. This program is not very good at deleting its supports. So you can see that little bead is still there. So I have to go back and select it and then delete and then select it and then delete. You want to get this right the first time. So take the time, go through and do that. See how it kind of like leaves half of a bead? Yeah, I don't get why it does that, but I probably would delete that support right there on the corner if I was going to print this and keep it, because that's not going to make a sharp corner. See, the corner gets cut into by that support. I don't like that. So make sure that doesn't happen on any of your sharp corners. You want it close to the corner, but not in the corner. The thumb's a little bit worrisome, but we can probably get away with it. When we remove the supports, we can use like a little X-Acto knife or trimming tools. Now what I'm looking for is where the support beams come down. You can see in the bottom lower edge of the base, it cuts into the base and then keeps traveling all the way down. That's going to be a nightmare. So I'm going to end up having to select those if it cuts into the base, but it is partially outside of the base. And I'm going to delete those and then make different supports. See, that one cuts into the base. So I'll select it, I'll delete it, and then what I'm going to go do is I'm going to change the auto support angle from 30 to like 45 so that I can avoid the collision that's happening with the base. Can speed up some of that thing. Okay, here's our 45. And when I change the auto support angle to 45, you can see that it kind of goes, oh, okay, well, there might be some other places that you need supports. Now when I'm clicking, instead of it traveling through that corner of the base, it stops on the base, and I can clean that up a lot easier after it gets done printing. Got a class coming in, so this is going to get noisy. Once I'm done and happy with having all my supports going, a couple going up the arm, make sure that the arm doesn't, stop printing. I'll go back to the original mode. The model list, and then I'm going to hit slice. I'll hit save to disk. You don't have to worry about the slice settings. You hit save to disk. And then make sure that it's a sliced file, so a PWMB, and then hit save. This sliced file is what you're going to turn in for a grade. It takes a minute. And when it's all done and you've uploaded it, then you're good to move on to the next sculpting tutorial.